Already, so we have completed till Second Continental Congress. So after the Second Continental Congress, as we saw that the olive branch petition was sent to King George, but then even he did not accept that petition, and that resulted into, he rejected the petition, and that ultimately resulted into Battle of Bunker. And Battle of Bunker, though British emerged to be victorious, but the total casualties, thousand British soldiers died, and that was an eye opener. He understood that now the colonies are in the state of rebellion, they are in the state of war. Okay, so now Americans drafted declaration document. So on 4th of July 1776, Declaration of Independence was signed and approved by American Congress, and Thomas Jefferson, he played a very important role in drafting this document of independence, Declaration of Independence. So according to this document, it was said that resolved that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they of absolved from all the allegiance to the British crown, and that all the political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. So according to this document, declaratory document, Declaration of Independence, as drafted by Thomas Jefferson, they were very clear that now colonies intend to separate from British crown and they want to form their independent states. Okay, let's proceed with the other important things. Now, the turning point of this entire war was the Battle of Saratoga. Now, why the Battle of Saratoga? So continuously colonies under the leadership of George Washington and British soldiers were continuously fighting. The fight was going on and on, but one important battle that completely changed the game upside down was the Battle of Saratoga. Now, up till now, British soldiers were emerging victorious, but this particular battle led to the victory of American forces. And once the American forces emerged as victorious, there is a disturbance. Kindly mute. Ankush, please mute. Aarti, please mute. Yashi, mute. Yeah. Yes. So this Battle of Saratoga was very important. As I mentioned that in this battle, American forces emerged to be victorious. And जैसे अमेरिका victorious हो रही है देखने को मिला, France, you know that French and British, Kattar Dushman, traditional enemies of each other. As soon as they saw that the Americans are emerged to be victorious, Turant French came and supported Americans. So extremely sorry, encouraged France to pledge its support for USA and Franco-American alliance of 1778. So French and American, they became allies, friends of each other, and signed an alliance document in 1778. According to this alliance document, France decided to support Americans in this war. Now see, French didn't have any personal, उनको कुछ interest नहीं था इस Americans जीते या कोई भी, but only one reason, enmity or animosity with Britain. उनकी Britain के साथ enmity थी, and as a result, to take the revenge, they decided that we are going to support Americans in this war. And they saw that Americans का एक sign था कि Americans हाँ जीत रहे. जैसे France ने support किया, a year later, even same thing was followed by Spain. So Spain also decided, let us enter the war against Britain. So even Spanish people started supporting America. As soon as Spanish also supported, Netherlands, Dutch, they also entered into war against Britain. And if you can see the time frame, in India, Dutch and Britain were also fighting. Battle of Bidara, right? Already Dutch and British were enemies of each other. They were fighting in India. So at that time they thought, let's support Americans in this particular war. Okay, so now we are seeing that Americans are being supported by French entities, Spanish people, and Netherlands, that is Dutch people. And because of all this support, now slowly and gradually we see that we can see the fate of the battle was completely changed, and slowly and gradually Americans, with the help of all these entities, they started defeating British forces, and ultimately they were successful in laying a siege. So a British troop was headed by Lord Charles Cornwallis. So Lord Cornwallis was the commander of the British Army, and from all the sides, from one side Americans came and attacked, from another side Spanish came, Dutch people came, and the final siege, which completely blocked the movement of Charles Cornwallis, was the entry of the French forces. So from all the sides, British forces were encircled. From one side, Americans, Spanish, Netherlands, and the fourth side was completely blocked by French troops. And in this way, Lord Cornwallis, he had no option. उनके पास निकलने के लिए जगह ही नहीं थी, because it was completely sieged from all the four sides, and now Lord Cornwallis decided to surrender. So that is considered to be the biggest defeat of Britain in America. They ultimately decided to negotiate, they ultimately decided to surrender, and documents, that is a peace treaty, was signed in Paris at the end of November 1782. Okay, and if you remember the Statue of Liberty, so French entities, French government gifted Statue of Liberty to America as a remark of victory. Okay, so formally this entire war came to an end. Different treaties were signed. Treaty of Paris was signed for US, and for the other allies who participated in the war, a Treaty of Versailles was signed. And the last British troops, they left New York on 25th of November 1783, and ultimately United States Congress, they ratified the Paris Treaty, and that led to the end of the American Revolution. Okay, so war is not important from our exam perspective. What is important from our exam perspective? Causes and the significance. Now this is a question that can be expected. What is the significance of American independence or American Revolution? So first important thing is that America got independence, and United States of America, a new country, was born. Okay, so this revolution led to the establishment of republic based on the first written constitution in the world. If you compare Britain, Britain was constitutional monarchy, correct? Britain में parliament था, but the head of the country was a monarch. Head of the country was not elected. Head of the country was a monarch. But in America, the head of the country became elected. That is, president was appointed who was elected. So this revolution led to the establishment of a republic, and America ka constitution is the first written constitution of the world. Okay, so that is the first thing. Second thing, America adopted democracy, and obviously there was democracy in other countries also, but this was a very significant event in the world history, because America became the first republic country, first written constitution, and a democratic country that inspired the other countries to accept democracy as a form of government. Okay, third important effect is domino effect. So American Revolution का इतना ज्यादा impact था that it resulted into age of revolution. So after American Revolution, 1789 में we see French Revolution. 1798 में Ireland. So Ireland started demanding independence from UK. So Ireland was a colony of UK, United Kingdom, Britain. So even Ireland demanded that we want freedom. Various Latin American countries, those who were colonized by different European powers, even they started demanding independence. And 20th century में a series of पूरा process ही start हो गया decolonization. India demanded freedom, African countries demanded freedom. So American Revolution was a starting point that resulted, वो trigger था that resulted into series of revolutions in the different parts of the world. Next, what was the impact of this revolution on Europeans? Okay, so we saw that many Europeans supported Americans, right? We saw that France supported America, that is, French king sent army to help Americans. But though French helped Americans, but because of this war, it resulted into excessive burden on French treasury, and French suffered economically, and that was one of the main cause for French Revolution. So American Revolution में support became one of the factor which led to the French Revolution, which we'll see in the upcoming sessions when we will be discussing French Revolution. Okay, so ye first 4 points: America got independence, became the first republic country of the world with the first written constitution, then domino effect, and then influence of Americans. What was the impact on Britain? Now, this revolution was an eye-opener for Britain. how to rule the other colonies. Now, why it was an eye opener? The reason was that East India Company was ruling in India. So अभी ब्रिटेन को डर लगने लग गया that we need to control, we need to regulate the activities of East India Company. Why? Because just see, Americans कौन थे? Europeans ही थे. They went to America, settled, and they separated from Britain. तो ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के लोग they came to India. There was a possibility कल को जाके ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के लोग बोलेंगे now we are Indians. We are no longer British, we are Indians, we want to separate from Britain. There was a possibility because Americans ने वही किया ना. They separated from Britain by stating that we are Americans, we are no longer British. So there was a possibility that East India Company के भी लोग बोलेंगे we are no longer British, we are Indians, we want to separate from Britain. So now we will see that आप पॉलिटी में पढ़ोगे that after American Revolution, British government started controlling East India Company. Different acts were passed which tried to regulate the activities of East India Company. One of the important things, we saw that Charles Cornwallis, he was a British commander who surrendered during the American Revolution. After surrendering, Charles Cornwallis, he surrendered to George Washington. He was given one more opportunity to rectify his mistake. So this is a very few example that after a defeat, a person is upgraded. So Charles Cornwallis, after his defeat in America, he was appointed as a Governor General of India. And he was given a task कि आपने जो गलतियां की हैं अमेरिका में, we are giving you an opportunity to streamline, to rectify your mistakes, and we want you to streamline Indian administration. So Cornwallis came to India, and then we see that a series of reforms were introduced in India. Permanent Settlement Act was introduced by Cornwallis. इन्होंने judiciary streamline किया, police system streamline किया. So a lot of measures were taken by him in India. So remember, the same person who surrendered in the American Revolution was appointed as the Governor General of India. And the next impact of this war is it established a federal state. Now, what do you mean by federation? India is a federation. The meaning of federation is that we have a different levels of government. There is a central government and there are state governments. So power is shared between the units of federation. In India, power is shared between the central government and between the state governments, and power is demarcated by the constitution itself. So America became the first federation of the world, where the powers were divided between the state government and the federal government, that is the central government, and this resulted into a power sharing experiment, and this federation was also replicated into India. But India ka federation is little bit different because America mein states came together and they formed America. India mein already India was there and India ke parts karke states were formed. America mein states aate hain. These 13 states came together, and now the count of American states is 50. तो ये जो 50 states हैं, इन लोगों ने agreement sign किया that we are coming together and we are making a country, we are forming a country, United States of America. So that is American style. In India, India as a country was there, and उसको divide करके हमने ये अभी तक 28 states को form किया. But power is shared in India on the lines of America, Then separation of power, that is the three wings of government, legislative, executive, and judiciary, they're separate from each other. That is followed in America, So इसका मतलब है कि if a person is a member of a legislature, he is MP, then he cannot be a judge, he cannot be a member of judiciary, he cannot be a member of executive, India maybe same thing is there, but India का थोड़ा model अलग है, which you will study in polity. India में executive is a part of legislature, right? MPs and MLAs, जो ministers हैं, if you want to become a railway minister, if you want to become an agricultural minister, first you should be elected as a MP, then आपको minister बनाएंगे. अमेरिका में system अलग है. अमेरिका में a railway minister or an agricultural minister, they are not elected. President को freedom दिया गया है, you can appoint any expert. So America का जो health minister होता है, he is not an elected one, he is the health expert. The famous health surgeon of America is appointed as the health minister. So that is the difference. All these points you will study in polity. The next important outcome of America, of this revolution, is that each and every person has certain fundamental rights. So America ka constitution, it gave a document, Bill of Rights, which we have introduced in India in the form of fundamental rights. Okay, so Bill of Rights is an American document which grants fundamental rights to the Americans, and this limited the American government. Okay, so why fundamental rights are there in Indian constitution? These are limitations on the power of government, so that government should not cross its limit. It should not become autocratic and infringe people's basic rights. Okay, so this document, so many of the points of Indian constitution, they have been taken from the American constitution. Okay, so that is federal system, separation of power, but we have changed it that would suit Indian framework. Okay, then fundamental rights, so fundamental rights ka entire document, we have taken it from the American Bill of Rights. Okay, there are many things: independent judiciary, judicial review, procedure established by due process of law. All these points we have taken from American constitution. Okay, so how we'll conclude this entire topic? So definitely American Revolution had an immense impact on the world history, on the history of the modern world, and it provided a guiding example, a template through which modern ideas could defeat oppressive regimes, right? So America is the best example how a progressive liberal society can defeat an oppressive and a conservative society, conservative regime. So the subsequent success of USA in the world arena is a testimony to how powerful is the idea of liberal democracy and emancipation of populace. So America is a guiding example that what is the power of democracy? How can people emancipate, free themselves from such an autocratic rule? And same model was successfully implemented and emulated by many countries of the world. So many countries of the world, those who got freedom after World War II, they adopted American model. The same has been introduced in India. So India has also learned a lot from the American experience, and many of the American democratic principles have been adopted in India. Clear with the topic?